Hello, I'm Ryan Mosser. That is one of my best friends and co-host, David Cahoon. This is the Commissioner's Couch Podcast. Come on in, take a seat, and let's talk some fantasy football.
Let's
Guys,
do it.
we did it.
We did it.
We did it. The cushions are broken in on the Commissioner's Couch as we enter into the last episode of the inaugural season. Year one is in the books. I honestly can't believe it, Dave.
That's crazy.
yeah.
Feels like the whole season flew by in a flash. So.
Crazy. Tonight isn't just another episode. It's the final chapter of our podcast rookie season. We made it through draft day optimism, waiver wire wars, injury avalanches. So many injuries this year, man.
Yeah.
Miracle Mondays, heartbreaks Sundays, and everything in between. Champions have been crowned, trophies have been lifted, and the fantasy football season has officially closed its doors. But before we pack it up the couch for the winter, we're going to sit down and talk fantasy football one last time before a long offseason. This is our season finale, a celebration, a reflection, and a look ahead of what's coming next. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we are sponsored by Inside Edge Network, LV Productions, and Mosser Moments Photography. They're a husband and wife wedding photography team based out in Cleveland. Check out their website at mossermomentsphotography.com. That's MOSSOR, momentsphotography.com. Also, check us out on Twitter, please, at the Commissioner's Couch. All right, so we're gonna do things a little different today. Normally, we have a pretty structured show. This is our final show of the season, so we're just gonna do a little reflection and then maybe look forward to the future and what's to come next year. So, our first segment is different. Normally we do hunks and skunks, but right now this is gonna be called the season recap, the year that it was. Basic storylines, injuries, breakouts, stuff like that. First off, Dave, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good.
I'm excited to, do something a little different today. It'll be fun. So
Yeah, it's nice to mix it up and kind of recap everything.
Yeah.
I just wish I would have actually won one of my fantasy football leagues. But
how many leagues are you in?
I'm in 5. I'm in 3 guillotine leagues, 1 dynasty league, and then 1 regular work league.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Yeah, I've only won 1. Out of my many, but I'm back-to-back champ, and they think I'm a god because it's best one. So it's pretty cool.
That's more wins than me this year. So you did good.
Yeah. So hey, I broke even on my money, so that's all that matters. So that was a big money league. So that's cool. All right. So segment 1, season recap. I'm gonna go over just some injuries that happened this year. Basically, if you had these guys, you're probably most affected, unfortunately. And, that's what fantasy football is. It's fantasy football, and unfortunately, injuries happen. But, I'll go over injuries. Joe Burrow, his ADP was 43rd overall. That's QB5. He ended up being QB33. So if you had him, that's a big blow. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. He was drafted as a QB2, ended up being QB20. Jaden Daniels, ADP was 29th overall. QB3 ended up being QB34, missed 9 games. I have had a lot of shares of Jaden Daniels. And then Patrick Mahomes, ADP 62nd, QB6, ended up as QB10, missed the last 3 games. I'm only mentioning that because of how important his injury was that affected, obviously, the playoffs. Yes, he was incredible all season, but when it mattered the most, obviously, he wasn't there to participate. Austin Eckler for a running back. He was drafted 34th running back, ended up being 96th. Joe Mixon, he was drafted by 42nd running back. He didn't play at all this season.
Yeah.
He was a running back 581, which I don't even know how that's even a stat. But Bucky Irving, drafted RB10, ended up being RB36. Mike Evans, wide receiver 18, ended up being wide receiver 78, but did have some great end of season stretch there to help you make the playoffs. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 14, ended up being wide receiver 60, and then Malik Neighbors, wide receiver 5, actually drafted 9th overall and as ADP, ended up being wide receiver 99. Then Brock Bowers was drafted tight end 1, being tight end 8. That's not that awful. And then David Njoku, tight end 9, tight end 34. So just injuries suck, man. There's been a ton of unfortunate injuries this season. So
I feel like every year there's always those top players that get hurt too, and just kind of ruin their ADP positions and ruin your whole team. So it sucks, but it's what it is. Part of life.
Yeah. I do have some breakouts here. Drake May, he was drafted QB13, 107th overall, ended up being QB2. So just talk about value there. Caleb Williams drafted 115th, QB15. He ended up being QB6. And then Javonte Williams, his ADP was 104th, RB 36, ended up being running back 11. And he actually was RB5 until the last 2 weeks when he's been playing with that injured neck injury. So, and then JSN, probably the biggest one of all, 32nd overall, wide receiver 14, ended up being wide receiver 2. So just some crazy breakouts there as well. So yes, some fallers because of injuries, but definitely some guys who stepped up when it mattered most. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think some of the biggest storylines for me this year would just be like the AFC as a whole. It seemed like it was wide open the entire year. We had a bunch of veterans who were playing this year that were not living up to their reputation and standard that they usually set for themselves, looking at like Lamar Jackson, even Joe Burrow up until the end. A couple of good running backs like Derrick Henry had a really rough start to the year, finished well though. Yeah, it just seemed like the whole AFC was just like down this year, and really nobody knew what to make of it. Even like the Bills overall, like their wide receivers were really not good this year for fantasy, even though Josh Allen played really well. It just seemed like a very off year for the AFC when so many people, I feel like, have relied on those strong quarterbacks in that part of the conference to do well. And so it was weird. And then the other weird thing was there's usually a good like rookie QB that breaks out in a year. And I feel like this year we didn't have one. And I don't know if that just speaks to how bad of a quarterback class this last year's draft class was, or if it's just a lack of development within the NFL for young QBs or what it is. But yeah, I think there was just not a lot of good rookie QBs that could really come in and step in like a Jaden Daniels did last year, or even Bo Nix last year. And so,
yeah, I mean, I think situation is different for every guy as well.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Cam Ward, for the most part, I thought looked okay, but the weapons. Yeah. I mean, his top wide receiver of the year was supposed to be Calvin Ridley, ended up being Alec Ayominor. You really can't do much with a rookie. I like Alec Ayominor. I think he could be a good NFL player, but he's a rookie. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I agree. Definitely good points.
Yeah,
Tyler Shuck. If Spencer Rattler wouldn't have stepped in, and he would have got opportunities. Same thing with if Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston didn't get in there instead of Jackson Dart, we might have a different storyline here. But yeah, I think situations definitely matter. So
yeah, definitely for sure. And yeah, I don't know. It was weird because I feel like there's always usually one good quarterback every year that does well, and all the rookies this year were just meh. And Tyler Shuck recently has looked good and put up some good fantasy points. But overall, I don't know if that's what you want to buy into going into next year or not.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. Do you have anything else to add in there, Dave?
No, it was just also a really good year for veteran running backs, I feel like. You talked about Javonte Williams already, and I'm sure we'll talk more about him as we go. But somebody that really exceeded expectations this year, found a home in that Dallas Cowboys offense. And some other veteran running backs like a Nick Chubb had a decent year coming off of that injury. Maybe it's a better way of saying it. Jonathan Taylor had another resurgence year, looking like himself again. So there's a lot of really good veteran running backs who kind of bounced back this year and had good seasons. And I hope people were able to take advantage of that, because normally veteran running backs are kind of like, I'll forget about them. They're not really worth it. And this year it was really all about the veteran running backs.
Yeah, definitely a running back year for sure. Yeah, some top wide receivers at the top end there.
Yeah.
But overall, some consistently top, there's been 5 or 6 really, really, really good running backs this year, which is not always the case. So
yeah.
All right, going into, this is still part of the segment, but this we just made like a fantasy MVP race, basically who carried teams to titles. So we have we put a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, flex. I did defense and kicker. I don't really care if you want to do that or not.
I put them on there, so
yeah. So basically, these are just our MVPs that we think. So we're going to put together a team. My quarterback is Drake May from the Patriots. He's the QB2. Went 340 of 474 for 4,203 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Don't forget that rushing, though. 98 rushes for 409 yards and 4 touchdowns. Dude absolutely dominated. Looks like a MVP candidate and looks absolutely he just looks awesome. Especially, for a sophomore year, which most quarterbacks have a slump. Look at CJ Stroud, some of those other guys, Drake May did not, and he looks great. So we'll see.
Yeah, for mine, I literally put Drake May / Matthew Stafford in parentheses in case Monster says Drake May. Matthew Stafford. So I'll just talk about Matthew Stafford being my QB MVP for this fantasy football year. Somebody who just consistently performed well, really up until the very end. Somebody who was relied upon time and time again to provide a lot of good points. He was a touchdown machine this year. and really did not throw a lot of picks up until the end of the season. And so somebody who was just a savvy veteran, looked really well, also in that MVP conversation that you were just talking about with Drake May. Just efficient, looked good, looked comfortable in that offense, and put up a lot of touchdowns. So
good pick.
Yeah.
All right, go into your first running back.
Yeah, my first running back, I feel like should be a no-brainer here, but this would be Christian McCaffrey. He's somebody who is going to break the 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, if he hasn't already. I didn't even look into that. But somebody who's just been the main focal point of that offense for San Francisco, and without him, they would not be where they're at. He's somebody who scores touchdowns consistently every week, puts up crazy numbers for fantasy, and just has been the bell cow back, and honestly a really good value this year too. You can get him in the second or third round and really be your running back one and workhorse to start the whole season with. And so somebody who's been a good piece for you and probably got you all the way to the end for your fantasy championships. And yeah, I think he's the obvious running back one choice here. So
yeah. I also had Christian McCaffrey, no brainer, like David said. He was the RB1 in fantasy, 303 rushes, 1,179 yards, and 10 touchdowns, 96 catches, 890 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So not quite at that 1,000 yards receiving yet, but he is averaging 1 touchdown per game, which is incredible. So he has 890 yards receiving, which is, I think, top 20% of receivers in the NFL, let alone running back. So just an absolute cheat code. Going on to my second running back, I picked Jonathan Taylor. He's the RB3 of the season, 309 rushes for 1,559 yards, 18 touchdowns, 44 catches, 365 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Up until the end here when the Colts lost Daniel Jones, this offense was humming. Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, even Josh Downs a little bit. All these guys were eating, and Jonathan Taylor looked like he was possibly going to run away with the MVP there at the beginning of the season. Like I said, once Daniel Jones went down, I don't know, little bit bad, but he still ended up as RB3, just absolutely amazing. Had a great year. The fantasy points that went off the charts. He's a great running back, great choice for this year. So.
Yeah, I agree. He was definitely everything as advertised and a little bit more. It was just sad to see once Daniel Jones went down, how defenses just honed in on stopping the run in that offense, and really they just became so one tier focused, and they just really couldn't do much else. But my running back, too, that I've got is Bijan Robinson for the Atlanta Falcons. Somebody who may have just had a little bit of a roller coaster to start the season, may have had some high weeks down to some low weeks. But as the season progressed, he just became a huge point in all of fantasy football. And this past week definitely helped teams win their championship.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
Absolutely just exploding for was like 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, something like that.
He had like a 98-yard receiving touchdown. It was
a rushing touchdown, yeah.
Oh, was it rushing? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he just looks like the real deal and the one that's going to be taking the torch from Christian McCaffrey moving forward in the fantasy football world. He's both a good threat running and receiving, just dynamic in space, and just somebody who's going to continue to put up a ton of fantasy football points. So to me, he's the RB2. I think he finished the RB3 on the year, but still like a clear.
No, he finished 2.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, just somebody who's dynamic and going to be a stud for years to come. So
there you go. All right, going into our receivers, I know we both got the same guys for at least the top 2. We got Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba, of course. Don't really have to go into too much into that. I mean, Puka Nacua, if he wasn't out those 2 games, he might have broken records this year.
Yeah,
Jackson Smith-Njigba took over that wide receiver 1 role with the Seahawks from DK Metcalf, and I never looked back. DK is, sitting on his couch right now, just like we are talking fantasy football, because he can't play because can't keep his hands to himself. And Jackson Smith-Njigba's out there scoring 10 touchdowns, has 1,709 yards on the year. So let's go on and do your wide receiver 3, since we both had the same ones.
Yeah, real quickly too, I just want to say I feel like this year there is that definitely tier 1 wide receiver, which is just Puka and Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then after that, there's that second tier of wide receivers that are literally like probably 10 to 12 wide receivers that can all fit into that gap. And so I just picked somebody for that third one that was from that group that kind of surprised me. And that would be George Pickens. You talked about somebody that came to the Steelers and couldn't keep his hands to himself in DK Metcalf. He came to replace George Pickens. They traded him away, and he had a really breakout season with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
He outperformed CeeDee Lamb. I know CeeDee Lamb was dealing with injuries. But yeah, George Pickens looked like the real deal this year. I think he finished the wide receiver 8 or 9, if I remember correctly, in fantasy football. Wide receiver 4. Wow. I need to update my list that I'm looking at. But yeah, he was just somebody who came in and exploded and really showed teams why you need to have like good wide receivers at the position. I think he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, if I remember correctly, this upcoming offseason. And so somebody who could get a big bag of money and somebody who should help any team that needs a wide receiver. So,
yeah, I actually don't know his contract situation. I'm going to look that up.
I believe he's an unrestricted, but
you're right. Unrestricted free agent 2026. Yeah. So obviously the Cowboys will look to extend him clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had George Pickens as my third wide receiver as well. So wide receiver 4, 92 catches, 1,420 yards, 9 touchdowns, 290 fantasy points this year. Just absolutely electric. I won't go into it too much because David just did. I'll go into my tight end though.
Yeah.
It's been on my Pookie list. I love this dude. Trey McBride. I got him for $1 in my dynasty league for the next 4 years. I was salivating. Tight end 1 on the year, 119 catches, 1,174 yards, 11 touchdowns, 302.4 fantasy points by a tight end. Broke the record for most catches for anything. I think a receiver, right? I don't think it was just tight end for the Cardinals. Him and Jacoby Brissett. I hope Jacoby resigns there. They're a match made in heaven. It's just absolutely amazing. I love Trey McBride. He's just so dynamic. The tight end won in fantasy football for sure.
Yeah, I also had him as my tight end MVP as well. There's really no other choice because the jump from the tight end 1 of the year to the tight end 2 is just so drastic and huge that there's really nobody else that should be in consideration for this. Obviously, there's still good players like Travis Kelce, Brock Bowers,
Harold Fannin Jr.
And even Kyle Pitts had a really good year, but still really nobody even came close to what Trey McBride did this year in terms of fantasy production and value. And so, yeah, Trey McBride should be the no doubt easy pick here for the MVP.
Yeah. All right. Drop your flex, big dog.
My flex, I'm hoping we're going to be different here, but we'll see. I picked James Cook, running back for the Bills. All right, you're nodding your head. That means that we did something different. I like that. So, yeah, he's somebody who is really outside of Josh Allen, mainly the focal point of that offense, somebody who broke off big running plays, was still a weapon in the passing game, maybe not utilized as much as he was the years past, but just was so efficient running the ball this year that he was just really dynamic. He's somebody who finished in the top 10 running back, could be relied upon to score a lot of points in fantasy games, and based off of matchups, really did well when you needed him to down the stretch. He was somebody who I would consider my flex MVP. He's not like maybe in that tier 1 of running backs, but definitely would be somebody who would be consistently in my flex position as an RB2. So,
he's still an RB1 regardless. He's a beast. I had Bijan. David went over him obviously earlier. He's RB2 on the season. 272 rushes, 1,445 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground, 76 catches for 810 yards and 4 touchdowns. 810 yards in the air compared to 890 for Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, like you said, dude, he's right next in line for just that top. Dual threat PPR. He's a nightmare. He's going to be he's just going to take the crown for the RB1 there. So he's just a beast. I'll go on and do my defense. I picked the Seattle Seahawks defense. They were the best in the NFL this year in terms of fantasy, at least. 44 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, 17 interceptions, and 3 defensive touchdowns. They had 174 fantasy points as a defense. That's crazy. So,
insane. Yeah, I didn't go with the Seahawks, even though they were a good choice. I went with the Houston Texans, actually. I just went for the best defense in the NFL. I think they were the number 2 defense in fantasy rated, but still like the number 1 lowest scoring defense in points allowed, I should say, in the NFL. Team that really did well, even for fantasy value, still did really well. Scored a lot of touchdowns, created a lot of turnovers, got a lot of stops too, and didn't allow teams to score a lot of points. And so the Texans, I think, is going to be a good defense to watch out as we enter into the playoffs here for the NFL. And if you ever do like fantasy football for the postseason or anything like that, might be a defense you want to watch out for, because that AFC is kind of wide open right now. And if the Houston Texans go on a run, it's going to be because of their defense.
Yeah, good pick. And then I picked Jason Myers, the Seahawks kicker, as well for my kicker.
Same.
I hate kickers in fantasy football, but some of y'all do them, so I'll talk about him once in a while. He was 47 and 47 extra points, 39 and 44 on field goals. He made 950-plus field goals this season, had 189 fantasy points. That's insane. Too many points for kickers. 189 fantasy points for kickers is insane. So, but that's what he had. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of defenses and kickers in leagues, but they're there. So whatever.
I'm with you. Death to defensive kickers. Get them
tell
out of the
TJ. Get him out of here. I'm tired of it.
I'm not calling TJ out. Just fantasy.
I am. He's the commissioner of our main dynasty for college, and he will not get rid of kickers, and it pisses me off. All right. Real quick, I had a heartbreaker as well. Basically, a player who nuked teams at the worst possible time of the season. I went with Patrick Mahomes. He was the QB1 for most of the year. Absolute dominant player. Went 315 of 502 for 3,587 yards, 22 touchdowns, 11 receptions, 64 rushes, 422 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 296.68 fantasy points. But as we know, unfortunately, towards ACL week 15, where most fantasy leagues started the playoffs. If you had him in the regular season, he treated it right, clearly. But when it mattered most, his injury definitely cost a lot of managers a championship. So he is my heartbreaker for the year.
Yeah, it's a good pick. And I have a few heartbreakers here. So I kind of broke it up into 4 different categories. Okay. First one was heartbreaker to start the year. So for that, I picked both Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors, both just because of injuries. Malik Neighbors may be more of a heartbreaker just because he missed the whole year.
My heart.
I know. Brock Bowers also really, that affected his whole year, and what somebody should have been the tight end 1 of the year, finished like the tight end 5. He's now out for the rest of the year, and hopefully he'll come back full strength next year. But definitely some heartbreaks. And then the second tier was the midpoint of the season, and this would be the CeeDee Lamb. Somebody who started off really hot, looked really good, got a leg injury, tried to battle his way back. When he came back from that injury after missing like 5 weeks, he was just not the same. Was still dynamic, but still just not as explosive, not catching as many touchdowns, and not the main focal point of that passing game for the Dallas Cowboys. And so heartbreaker there right in the middle of the season. And then towards the end, I have 2 more people. That would be Drake London. Got hurt right as the playoff push was happening, and people were trying to make their playoff seedings or make it into the playoffs. It really cost them there. And then this one really affected me in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford, the last week of the entire fantasy season, he throws 3 picks, one of them for a pick 6. Just really fumbled and just lost all of the great success that he got a lot of teams going into the year. And so really a huge heartbreaker there, because he was the one that got a lot of teams to the championship game and then just dropped the ball right at the tail end of the race. And so it's a big heartbreaker there for anybody who's like me and started him in your championship league.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Life goes on.
Yeah. And then finally, in this segment, I just have some waiver wire kings, guys who went from afterthoughts to league winners. First one I have is Rico Dowdle. His ADP was 176 overall as an RB58, ended as a running back 16, and at some points in the season there, during a couple weeks, he was running back 1. Michael Wilson is my second one. ADP is 199th overall. That was the wide receiver 81st. He ended up being the wide receiver 16 as well. So that's just incredible value. And then lastly, Harold Fannin Jr.'s ADP was 290th. The tight end 35, he ended up being the 5th tight end in fantasy football this year. So.
Yeah, those are all great. I got 3 different ones, though, for the waiver wire kings. The first one being Parker Washington for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Somebody who nobody even heard of going into the season. And then halfway through the season, okay, people knew of him. Maybe was not fantasy relevant. It's a better way of putting it.
In our Dynasty League, I said I was going to pick up Parker Washington, and David said, go ahead, that dude sucks. So
true, I did say that. And so
that was like 7 weeks ago, though. So
he's still halfway through the season. He emerged on the scene and became really a huge part of that passing game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He kind of took the role that I thought a lot of people were going to assume Travis Hunter was going to do. And
I agree, yeah.
Just kind of capture that whole role and kept it for himself. He definitely helped you down the stretch in the playoffs, even in the championship, scoring 20 points last week. Was a huge person that helped coming off the waiver wire.
He
The
might
next
be
one would be
the best
Bill
wide
Cross.
receiver 4 in all of football too. Just he's absolutely a great pick.
Yeah. The next one would be Bill Krosky Merritt, somebody who was drafted a lot, but really did not live up to the hype to start the season. But throughout the last couple of weeks, especially during the playoff run, somebody who helped your team a lot. This past week, I think he scored 27 points, if I remember correctly, had a really long touchdown run. Just looked really more like that dynamic rookie that we all saw in training camp and got a lot of hype going into the season to start. And so it was nice to see him finish the season that way. But yeah, I would call him a waiver wire king because a lot of people gave up on him and dropped him throughout the season. And then people that were able to pick him up after that really were able to benefit from it. So
yeah.
My last one that I've got is Tyler Shuck. He was probably the person that I'd say would be the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks so far this season. Obviously, Jackson Dart probably has the most hype around him, but Tyler Shuck right now looks like the real deal. He looks very competitive, looks very poised and comfortable in that offense. Has actually looked really good using his legs too, which I think was surprising to a lot of people. And so, yeah, he's really done well. And if I would have started him over Matthew Stafford this past week in my championship, I would be the winner. So I have to include him. I didn't, and here we are.
There you go. So good picks there, man. I'm glad we had some different ones. Going into our next segment, this is the ADP risers and fallers, just basically draft day wins and losses. Some ADP steals I have. Matthew Stafford, David talked about. His ADP was 155th overall. He's a QB 23. Ended up being QB 3 on the year. Obviously, he fell on his face in the playoffs there, but he took you there for sure. Yep. Secondly, we talked about him as well. George Pickens, ADP was 55th overall, the wide receiver 27. He ended up being wide receiver 4. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba, his ADP was 32nd overall, wide receiver 14, and he was the second wide receiver in fantasy football this year.
Yeah. So I have a lot of ADP steals here that I really liked. So the first one we kind of talked about a little bit, Javonte Williams, Dallas Cowboys. According to Sleeper, he was at ADP 129 and finished the running back 11 on the season. And this next one, it's kind of funny because all of them kind of grouped together for me. So these next four people were all ADP 23, ADP 25, ADP 26, ADP 28. So that would be Trey McBride, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jonathan Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
And they all ended up being either the top 1 or top 2 of their positions.
That's crazy.
It was just insane to see how all of these mid to late 20s picks in the draft ended up being like what people won the league because of. And so, yeah, those picks I think will be valuable moving forward and thinking about next year as you go into the drafts and thinking about who you want to target. Those mid to late 20 picks are where you're going to be making a lot of your best picks. So keep that in mind. But it was really interesting to see just how like Trey McBride, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, all of them fell to those late 20s and ended up being like the top players. So,
yeah, a lot of that has to do with injuries, but I mean, hey, that's how it rolls with fantasy football. So.
Yeah.
All right. So ADP busts. These are catastrophic busts I have. First one I have is Brian Thomas Jr. ADP 15.3 wide receiver 7. He finished as a wide receiver 48. Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 2, finished as 39. Lad McConkey was wide receiver 11, finished as the 37th wide receiver. Kenneth Walker was running back 15th. He ended up running back 29th. TJ Hawkinson was tight end 5, ended up being 27th tight end. Mark Andrews was tight end 7, finished tight end 23, and then Jerry Jeudy was wide receiver 37, finished wide receiver 70, and he sucks.
No way.
I had more, but I just went through there a little bit. So
yeah.
Caleb Johnson, 27th running back. He was ended up being running back 109. That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Lynn. No, you're good. I had a lot of the same players. Justin Jefferson picked 3.9 overall. Wide receiver 28, really disappointing year. Bucky Irving picked 20th overall, finished 37th overall. I think a big part of that probably because of his injury. Malik Neighbors, also a big bust. I think catastrophic maybe is a better term for him. Not because of talent, just because of injury. Talked about Brock Bowers earlier, talked about him too. And then Travis Hunter, I think somebody who was picked in the top 40 players and finished well below 100 because of injury. And even when he was playing, he really did not look very dynamic for fantasy. And so had that one good week, but that was about it. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward. But yeah, somebody who I thought was a catastrophic bust.
There you go. All right. In this segment, I have something called the Houdini Award. This is basically for the player who disappeared the most, who we think is just disappeared for the 25 season. My award is going to go to Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, listen, I understand he missed 3 games this season, but regardless of those games missed, I can't even say his name right, so he's so bad. Brian Thomas Jr. was horrendous. I mean, compared to his rookie season last year, he had 47 less targets this season, 42 less catches, 624 less yards, and 8 less touchdowns. 153.1 less fantasy points than his rookie season 2024. He went from the wide receiver 4 in 2024 to the wide receiver 44 this season. I mean, congratulations to Brian Thomas Jr. for winning the first ever Commissioner Cast Houdini Award. I'd partially give it to him, but he'd probably drop it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I also picked somebody for this award as well, and that would be Jerry Jeudy. Speaking of people that drop things, he leads the entire league in drops. When you, as the number 1 wide receiver on your team, gets outperformed by a rookie tight end, that's just a sign that maybe you're really not that good. I think Steve Smith said it best. He's just a guy. He's not
just a guy.
He's not a number 1 receiver. He's not really anything remotely close to what we saw last year with Jameis Winston. He's just a guy. He's really not even that good of a guy. He's just a body out there playing wide receiver. Yeah. But yeah, he would be my Houdini Award winner for this year. Somebody who really just did not live up to any expectations, and they were already pretty low. So
there you go. All right, going to our next segment. This is the Dynasty Corner. This is basically just like building for 2026 and beyond. We'll talk about some buy low dynasty targets, some sell high candidates, some aging vets to move on from, rookies this year who didn't matter, who may matter next year, and then also some deep dynasty stashes here. So my first buy low target for dynasty was Breece Hall. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2026. He will be one of the top free agent targets in the NFL. He ended up being the RB17 on the season, but as I talked about last week, that's strictly because the Jets hate him and they do not know how to use him. They have underutilized him specifically in the receiving game year after year, where it's basically been cut in half the amount of production that he's had, to where it's this year he's just 36 catches, 350 yards, and 1 touchdown. Just it's not very good. So I'm looking for him to join a team that's going to utilize him more. And him to have a huge bounce back game, bounce back season for next year. So somebody I'm definitely looking to for a running back needy team who possibly could be in playoff contention and be utilize him correctly.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. And if he ends up going to a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, he could be extremely valuable. Too. So yeah, definitely a good one there.
My Commanders, someone like that.
Oh yeah. My top buy for low dynasty targets this year would be Malik Neighbors, somebody who a lot of people in the fantasy football world have probably forgotten about. It's collecting dust up in their heads, just being in the attic in a box. Do not think about until next year. I think he's somebody who really could be a huge game changer going into next year. The Giants seem to have found their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. They seem to have figured some things out moving forward in their offense. And I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a huge part of that when he comes back healthy next year. He should be ready to go by the time training camp starts, should be back to 100%. And I think if he can hit the ground running with Jackson Dart, get some good chemistry and rhythm with him, the sky's really the limit for him next year. He's going to be a target machine. He's going to be really the main focal point of that offense. And if they can really build around that dynamic duo, the Giants might have something there. So I'd be buying him right now based off of that injury and buying low, because I think the sky could really be the limit for him.
Yeah, I'd definitely be buying low too. I love Malik Neighbors. I have him in a lot of leagues. I don't know if I'm selling him low though, knowing that this season's coming up. But if you can finagle your way into getting him for buying buying pretty low, I would definitely do that for sure.
Yeah.
My second buy low, I only have 2 here, is Alec Pierce. Unrestricted free agent as well. Had a breakout year this year. Not super breakout. Still wide receiver 39, but he had some really, really good games. Especially with Daniel Jones. Will most likely have a good market in the NFL free agency as well. Wide receiver needed teams. He's going to get a decent contract. He is a downfield threat burner, a guy, especially with best ball. He could be a really, really good target. for Dynasty, I would definitely buy low and hope that he goes to a wide receiver needy team that utilizes him as a true wide receiver one. I'm not saying he is, but he's going to get the ball. He showed that he can, and he's going to demand it. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a good landing spot for him would be a team like the Raiders or maybe even the Browns to some degree. They've been looking for some speedy deep threat receiver.
I don't want to pay him.
I don't either. Yeah. I would rather draft a wide receiver. But, I think a team like the Raiders, if they go quarterback in the first round, could definitely benefit from having a guy like Alec Pierce. So, yeah. All right, I got a few more buy low dynasty targets here, so I'll just go through them real quickly. But first one, Bucky Irvin, or I guess the next one, Bucky Irving, somebody who's had a pretty down year based off of all the hype that he had after last year, his rookie year. Still somebody who I think is super talented and really just going to become the focal point and bell cow back of that. We just talked about earlier how Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson are all these dual threat running backs, and I think that Bucky Irving has the potential to live up to that type of hype as well. He's somebody who's really dynamic in the run game and just very explosive when there's open field around him. And I think that the Buccaneers can find a way to get him targets. You have aging wide receivers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who may be on their way out here soon. And somebody like a Bucky Irving can step in and have a big role in the receiving game moving forward. And so I'm a big fan of him. I'd be trying to buy him low here before he really takes off. And it could be a really good time to do so. Next one that I have is Braylon Allen, the running back for the New York Jets. Somebody whose season got injured early due to injury. And I think that he could be the running back one moving forward for the Jets. We talked about how Breece Hall's an unrestricted free agent. It seems like the Jets have no interest in keeping him around. Even this year when both Breece Hall and Allen were healthy, they had a shared backfield, and Braylon Allen really seemed to have a lot of the desire of the coaches and a lot of the belief around him from the coaching staff. And so I think he'll be somebody who will be moving forward as a running back one next year. So somebody who I think was a definitely good worth buy low candidate here. Somebody who's worth stashing on your IRs to end the season and head into next season.
That's a sneaky one. I like that one a lot.
Thank you.
I wasn't considering that. That's a good one.
And then my last one that I've got is Noah Gray, somebody who's shown some flashes of potential.
David's been on Noah Gray for 5 years now. It's not happening.
Have been, all
Stop
right?
making fetch happen. It's not going to happen. Sorry, continue.
Hey, at some point, Travis Kelce's going to hang him up, and he's going to be remembered as one of the greatest tight ends to ever play. And somebody's going to have to step in behind him, and Patrick Mahomes loves to throw to his tight ends, and I think Noah Gray could be that person. Could he be the tight end one next year for the Chiefs if Travis Kelce decides to hang it up and just enjoy married life with Taylor Swift? Maybe. Or he'll come back next year and they will just continue to be behind Travis Kelce and just be the tight end two for that team. Either way, I still think there's value there and somebody who could be a good dynamic playmaker in the red zone for the Chiefs. And so I think he's worth buying. Maybe not a lot of expensive, like, hey, I'm going to give up a future draft pick for him, but hey, this team just cut him. I'll pick him up off of waivers during the offseason, just stash him. I think that's a good route to go. So
there you go. Real quick, Vanna White on Twitter. Awesome podcast, guys. Thank you so much, Vanna. Appreciate you. Thanks for the comment.
Man. You're beautiful.
Thank you for watching, too. Just really grateful for everyone watching. We got 100 people in right now, so just really grateful. Nice. Thanks for spending your Tuesday night with us. All right, going on. We're going to go a lot fast here. Going on to our sell high candidates. I just have one today. Is Devontae Adams. Had an incredible season, top 10 wide receiver, but he's 33 years old. And how much is this season going to be sustainable into the future? I try to sell high. I mean, it's only a matter of time before he drops off a cliff, just like every other really good receiver, Julio Jones, and I'm not saying he was even Julio Jones, but eventually he's going to hit a wall and he's going to drop, kind of like DeAndre Hopkins did this past year. So I try to sell him when I can before he get all the juice out of the squeeze before it runs out. So.
Yeah, it's a great one. And honestly, the only reason why he's fantasy relevant this year is because of all the touchdowns he's caught.
Right.
His yardage has really not been up there. Targets share is good because he's a good red zone threat. But Matthew Stafford really just loves targeting him in the red zone and to catch touchdowns. And so outside of that, he's really not a dynamic receiver anymore.
Yeah, he's got 14 touchdowns, which is tied for second most in his career.
Yeah.
And this is like his 12th season. So
and that's really not sustainable either.
Sure,
even
exactly. Yeah.
Rams. So that's a good point. My sell high candidate, I have a few on here, but I'll just pick the one that I think is the best. That would be Rome Odunze. Somebody who I was a huge
Ooh.
fan of going into the season this
You
year.
love him.
I do love Rome Odunze. I think he's super talented. I just think that offense is not tailored to a true wide receiver one, and there's still potential for Rome Odunze to put up good numbers, but somebody who I would be selling high here. Earlier this year in our Dynasty League, I sold him for a couple of first-round picks, and I think that was the right move for me. You have players like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, who have really emerged as good weapons for this offense, and it seems like Caleb Williams doesn't really just focus in on one player. He just tries to spread around the ball to wherever the defense is showing him. And so I think that's good for him and the Bears as a whole. But I think that's bad for players like Rome Odunze and even DJ Moore to some degree, because they're not going to get and demand those targets that they normally would as a true wide receiver one. And so I'd be selling them. I would love to get some sort of first-round draft picks for 2027 if I'm selling Rome Odunze. There's so many good wide receivers that come out in that draft. Even this draft, there's a lot of good wide receivers that we'll talk about too. But yeah, I would be selling Rome Odunze, try and get somebody younger who's coming into the league and may have a better situation.
Yeah, the 2027 first-round pick is the coveted pick right now because of all the candidates coming out. So a lot of good prospects that year. All right, real quick, going on to some aging vets to move on from. I have Deebo Samuel, will be 30 in January. Looks like, he might be coming down to an end there. We thought maybe he could have a new change of pace with the Commanders. He was ended up being the 25th overall receiver. Obviously, it wasn't the season he wanted, with Jaden Daniels being out. But nonetheless, I just think that, he'll be 30 here soon, and once you hit 30, it's kind of hard to sustain in the NFL. Secondly, I have Saquon Barkley. He'll be 29 in February. I love Saquon. He's still really good. This year he did have a down year compared to last year. Obviously, 14th overall running back this year, but you can sell him just off of his name. So I would sell high while you still can. And then thirdly, Devontae Adams as well. I talked about him, 33 years old, 14 touchdowns. It's not sustainable. So.
Yeah, real quickly, I'll just name some other veterans that I would sell on and move on from. The first one, Javonte Williams. He had a great comeback year this year with the Cowboys. I don't know how sustainable it is. He really got beat up as the season progressed, and I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys are going to be as run-heavy of an offense as they were moving forward, and so I think that could be somebody who could just have been a flash in the pan and somebody who may not be relevant moving forward, so I would move on from him. And then my last one, and this may be controversial, but Christian McCaffrey. I think at some point, Father Time's going to catch up with him. He has a lot of tread on those tires and is somebody that eventually is going to have some sort of injury or some sort of just lack of production in his game. And he's going to eventually be fantasy irrelevant. And so if you have him in the Dynasty League and you have him for like another 3 to 4 years, I would move on to this point. He's going to be too expensive. You can get somebody else in the draft, or get a young rookie person like a Ashton Genty or somebody like him to kind of help relieve some of that oldness and get some of that youth in there. And I think it's time to probably pass the torch on from Christian McCaffrey to somebody else. So
there you go. All right, going on to some rookies who we think will matter in year 2. First one I have is Trey Harris. Wide receiver for the Chargers. Keenan Allen is going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's also 33. Trey Harris was a second-round pick. He will matter in year 2. He's going to step right in. It was just, a matter of a clogged wide receiver room. Torrey Horton is my second one, wide receiver for the Seahawks. Placed on IR for shin and groin injuries. Looked like he was going to have a promising rookie season. I looked for him to continue that and be the true wide receiver 2 there in Seattle. And then thirdly, you don't like him, but I like him. I think Travis Hunter will be ready to roll in 2026 as a wide receiver, so I think he'll matter next year as well. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with Travis Hunter, but I like all those other picks. Those are all really good. Some other rookies that I like this year headed into year 2. So the top one, Harold Fanta Jr. He's really been the main focal point for the Browns this year and has been the only really reliable weapon in the pass game. And so I think that's just going to continue to be a huge part of his game moving forward and may eventually be the tight end 1 of fantasy football in the future. We'll see. Another person that I've got is Ashton Genty. I think it's clear to see that the talent is there with Genty. The just O-line that he has is just horrendous. And if the Raiders can somehow help fortify that offensive line, and he gets a rookie quarterback in front of him, like I think there is a lot of potential for Ashton Jeanty to do well in fantasy football moving forward. And then the last two that I've got are some rookie wide receivers this year. So Ted McMillan, somebody who just is a stud, and I think is just going to continue to be a stud moving forward in the league. He's a great wide receiver. I'm not convinced Bryce Young is really the answer with the Panthers, but it doesn't really matter because Ted McMillan is that good. He's going to demand that many targets. He's kind of like, in a sense, a little bit of the Mike Evans, his rookie year as a wide receiver, somebody who just makes big plays and gets open deep. And I think if he can continue to focus his skills to match what Mike Evans has done for all those years, the sky is really the limit for him. And then my last one is Alec Manor. We talked about the Titans and how Calvin Ridley was supposed to be the wide receiver one for this team, but it looks like they're moving on from him. He has been on IR for the whole year. I don't know what they're going to do in the draft. Probably, hopefully, draft an offensive tackle to help Cam Ward. But I think Alec Manor has shown that he has that chemistry and poise to be a wide receiver one for that offense moving forward. And if he can figure it out, he can do really, really well next year. So I like all four of those guys.
Good picks, bro. Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, buddy. All right. Last part of this segment. This is our deep dynasty stashes. We'll go quickly through here. First one I have is Will Howard, quarterback for the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old. Will Howard, I think he's next in line, man. I mean, he won the award in the preseason for the best player for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin loves him. I don't even know if Mike Tomlin's going to really stay there. I'm not sure. He's going to make the playoffs. Maybe it depends all this week if the Steelers beat the Ravens. AFC North drama, even though they suck. It's crazy. We're Browns fans, obviously, and the AFC North is so wide open, and it's it's embarrassing how bad we are. Oh, man. Nonetheless, I truly think that, he was stashed away this year. Let Aaron Rodgers go in as a bridge quarterback, and, he'll be ready to roll next year. It's going to be between him and Mason Rudolph, and I think Will Howard's going to win that job. So I definitely am stashing him in all my dynasty leagues. I really, really like him. Secondly, Malik Willis, another unrestricted free agent quarterback. Anytime Jordan Love is down, the Packers really don't take a step back because Malik Willis just steps in there. Does that mean, Jordan Love is not that good? Does it mean Malik Willis is actually good and, it's a starting caliber quarterback? I'm not sure, but as an unrestricted free agent, he's probably going to get an opportunity to start somewhere, and I'm going to bet on what I've seen so far. Another one I really like that not a lot of people know about, Terrence Ferguson.
Oh, yeah.
Terrence Ferguson is a tight end for the Rams. He's a rookie. He played for Oregon last year. Not too many opportunities this year. 25 targets, 11 catches, 231 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The last 2 weeks has had 2 touchdowns. He's very, very, very athletic, a very, very good tight end. Colby Parkinson right now is in the way for him, but I think, Sean McVay never likes to use rookies, and, next year it'll be his time to shine. I really, really like Terrence Ferguson. I think he's a deep, deep sleeper for tight ends, and I think he could be a top 10 tight end next year. So, and then lastly, Alec Pierce, unrestricted free agent. He's going to be a top free agent choice for NFL teams, and hopefully we'll get signed to a team where he can be utilized properly. So.
Yeah, I like all of those. I also had Malik Willis on my list. He's definitely going to get a starting job somewhere next year. I'm eyeing up teams like the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know if they're going to run it back with Daniel Jones based off of his injury or what, but Malik Willis could definitely step in there. The Cleveland Browns, to a certain extent, he could just jump in there. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Even a team like the New York Jets could jump in and take a Malik Willis. And so I think there's definitely a market for Malik Willis, and he will get a bag this year and could be really good next year. You talked about fantasy tight ends and rookie tight ends. I have another one that also matches your description of could be a fantasy top 10 tight end.
Let me guess. Oronde Gaston?
No, not him. Elijah Arroyo.
That was my second guess.
Yeah. Nice. Somebody, I think, tight ends as a whole, we've learned, takes a lot of time to really develop and grow in the NFL. And so you have a lot of these really athletic guys this year. You look at, you talked about Terrence Ferguson. Mason Taylor for the Jets is another one. But Elijah Arroyo was somebody who was just a freak athlete in college, really was a huge weapon in that Miami Hurricanes offense, and came to the Seattle Seahawks and really needed some time to learn and develop. And I think next year he could take a huge step forward and be a huge weapon in that passing game because behind Jackson Smith and Jigba and Torrey Horton, there's really nobody else. And I think Elijah Arroyo could help fill that hole very, very well.
Yeah. AJ Barnier is in the way there.
True.
He did have a breakout year this year, but Elijah Aurora, he was drafted 50th overall last year, a second round pick. The dude is very athletic, has great hands. He's more of a pass catching profile tight end like Harold Fannin Jr. more than a blocking guy. Year 2 is going to be a big year for Aurora. I agree.
Yeah. And then my last one for these deep dynasty stashes. This is a really deep one, so I'm just going to start with that. But Jonathan Brooks for the Carolina Panthers.
Sitting on your IR for 3 years now, buddy.
He is, and I'm just going to continue to ride it because he doesn't cost me a dime right now. This is really, really risky, but I really like this. The Carolina Panthers for the last 2 years have really patched up their running back room as a whole. This year they had Rico Dowdle. They've had
Chuba.
The running back. Huh?
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard, thank you. I couldn't think of his name. And they both performed well. Definitely had some hotter times than the other one did. I think Rico Dowdle had a better season to end. But I think overall, they're probably just looking to see, can we really rely on Jonathan Brooks to come off of IR and really be that dynamic running back we wanted when we drafted 2 years ago. He was really the top running back in that whole draft way back when in 2024. And somebody who just has had really unfortunate injuries, hurting the same knee twice. And so I think next year he could be somebody who could just bounce and emerge onto the scene and be a really dynamic player, or could be really nobody at all. But either way, it's risky. I think that it's somebody who could come in and do really well. And I think the Panthers have shown that they can provide a good running lane for running backs. And if Jonathan Brooks can find the vision and recapture what he had in college, I think he could do really well. So the risky one, but Jonathan Brooks is somebody I would be targeting.
There you go. All right, going on to our next segment here. These are going to be 2026 rookie previews. We're not going to go super in depth. We're just going to name names on who we currently think could be the top players in each position. But we'll go in major detail over the summer when we actually break down each individual players. We have so much in store for you guys in the summer here, but we'll talk about that later. I'm gonna go ahead and drop my way too early list for my top 3 at each position. I'll start with quarterback. Number 1, Fernando Mendoza. It's been a down Heisman year. It's actually a down quarterback year, to be honest, but he is the consensus top quarterback right now. I expect him probably to go to the Raiders first overall. For that, the opportunity is endless. I mean, if he goes to the Raiders, he's got Brock Bowers, he's got Genty, he's got some decent pieces. They need to build on the offensive line. But that's my quarterback. Then a second one, I would have Ty Simpson, quarterback from Alabama. And then third is Dante Moore, quarterback from Oregon.
Yeah. So with these quarterbacks that are coming out, those are really the only 3.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not even convinced that all 3 will be drafted in the first round. I could see 2 be very similar to how this last year's was. I could see 2 being picked and then another one being picked in the second. But yeah, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, Ty Simpson, those are the top 3 for this year's upcoming draft class. As you said, I don't really like the quarterback draft class this year. I think I like 2027s a lot more. There are some really good sleepers in this when you talk later in the draft, like Garrett Nussmeier, who could be a late round pick.
Sawyer Robinson is my sleeper. Love him. Baylor.
I like him too. Yeah. Drew Allard to a certain extent in the right system. I think he could look well. But overall, the top talent quarterbacks in this draft are not great, but Fernando Mendoza in the right system could do well. Dante Moore is very athletic. I kind of wanted him to return to Oregon to get another year, but I don't blame him for coming out and playing. Yeah. And then Ty Simpson, I don't know. He reminds me of Mac Jones in a certain sense, somebody who's
fitting.
Yeah, smart and really that Alabama style of offense and can read defense as well, but may not have the most athletic arm and may not be the most athletic person, but in the right system could do really well. So
sure. All right, going on to my running backs. First one I have is Jeremiah Love, running back for Notre Dame. A lot of people, I talked about this last week, a lot of people had Genty as that next generational running back. I have Jeremiah Love. I think he's generational. I absolutely love him. No pun intended. No pun intended there. Secondly, I had Dylan Hollywood Smothers, running back out of North Carolina State. Third, I had Dimon Claiborne, running back out of Wake Forest. And then Jadarian Price as my fourth is actually the second string running back for Notre Dame. as the fourth running back. I think a decent running back class. I mean, talk about dual running backs in the system. You got Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, Penn State. There's some really good running backs this season, but yeah, those are my 4 as of right now. We have not broken down any film yet, but as just the eye test here. So
yeah, definitely Jeremiah Love's the top one of this rookie running back class.
Yeah,
I'm curious to watch some more film and see what I think of these players, because I feel like there's a huge gap from Jeremiah Love to really anybody else in this draft, and so I want to see some of these other guys. But yeah, you mentioned a few of them, so I won't go into the other guys. But some of the guys that I had that you didn't would be Jonah Coleman.
Love him.
Washington, yeah. And then Seth McGowan, somebody who I think could be also another good dual threat running back that you mentioned. Looks to be very athletic. And I think a big thing with them is seeing how they test in the draft, seeing combine. What kind of speed they have and all the combine stuff. Yeah, that'll be important to see. But yeah, overall, I do think I like this receiver class more than the running back class. It is a really good receiver class. So.
Yeah, I think there'll be quite a bit of first-round picks for receivers, first and second round picks in general, but you can go ahead and start with your receivers. Go ahead.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of the top guys, you've got Carnell Tate, who I think is a wide receiver 1 in this draft class. It's very debatable because there's a lot of good guys, but I like him the most. Jordan Tyson's my wide receiver 2.
That's my one.
He's really, really dynamic. I think he reminds me a lot of Malik Neighbors in the sense of you get him in open space and he's just so dynamic with the ball. He's just very, very good. But I like Carnell Tate because he's a little bit more of a route runner technician, and he's really worked on that this last year and looks really, really explosive.
Yeah, my other thing with Tate, I love Carnell Tate. I'm a Buckeye fan. His size is a little concerning for me. He's just a little underweight, 190. Yeah. I'd like him at 205, 210 at least, especially at 6'3". But he's not super, super fast. Runs like a 4.55. Yeah. So got good size, great, like you said, great routes. He's a technician. He'll be a great receiver in the NFL. I hope the Browns draft him, but I would like to see him put on a little bit of weight. So
yeah, that's fair. And then the next couple of ones in this wide receiver class, I like Denzel Boston a lot. Makai Lemon's really good. Chris Bell from Louisville's looked really explosive. And then I also really like the this may be controversial, but I think the Indiana Hoosier wide receivers, Elijah Sarratt and
Omar Cooper,
are both being slept on. I think that they could both be sneaky day 2 wide receivers that could really help our teams. So and honestly, I think those wide receivers are what made Fernando Mendoza look good this year in college football.
Yeah, Mendoza only looked good against really bad teams. By the way, I mean you can look at his touchdowns against bad teams compared to good teams. So
yeah.
I digress. We'll talk about that in another day. Yeah, receivers. I had Jordan Tyson 1, Carnell Tate 2, Makai Lemon 3, Denzel Boston. Love Chris Bell. He did tear his ACL last couple weeks ago, so that's not great. But nonetheless, ACL tears are nothing really anymore compared to 20 years ago. Yep. I have Chris Brazzell, the second out of Tennessee, really really fast. Like him a lot. I love Casey Concepcion out of A&M. Love him. I know his slot. I know slot receiver. I know he's a little smaller, 5'10". I don't care. Jacoby Lane, I think, is going to be really good. And then Antonio Williams as well from Clemson.
Yeah. With Casey Concepcion, sorry. Yeah. I think his ability to be dynamic in the return game will also help his draft stock going into next year. He looks really dynamic in both the punt and kickoff returns. So.
Yeah, I think he could be a late first round pick, early second for sure. Tight ends, my top one is Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Big dude. He was the consensus probably top tight end for college fantasy football, which I do. I love college fantasy football. I'm excited to see what he does in the combine. Eli Stowers as well. He's a tight end out of Vanderbilt. He was right up there just as well with Sadiq and Max Clare from Ohio State. So
those are literally the same 3 that I had as well.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely. I think Stowers is somebody who could do really, really well and especially test well in the combine. Yeah. But yeah, I think those are your clear top 3 for the tight end.
Yeah. There'll be a few other ones that come out. I like Jolly out of NC State. There's some guys, but we'll see. So, all right. This next segment, we're at 10 o'clock. We got 2 more seconds. We'll be okay. It's the last one. It's New Year's, whatever. We're going to have some fun with it. 148 people live with us right now. Super grateful for you guys. Hopefully we're doing it right by you. This one is the Commissioner's Couch Award Show for 2025. We have our fantasy MVPs, our waiver wire heroes, our biggest busts, comeback players of the year are I'll Never Draft Him Again award and I Was Wrong award. So a guy who we were adamant about, who either we really liked or really didn't like, and we were wrong. So we're going to admit it. David, you go ahead and go with your MVP. I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we probably have the same person. That would be Puka Nacua, wide receiver for the LA Rams. Somebody who really has just been extremely dynamic and dominant this whole year. Whether Devontae Adams was playing or not, Puka Nacua was just somebody who got his, and it was just explosive, dynamic, catching touchdowns. Also, that last pass to the sidelines the other night was actually a catch, even though they didn't call it a catch. It was a catch, yeah. Oh, very frustrating. But, yeah, just somebody who's a stud all around, and it's going to be wide receiver 1 moving forward for a while here. And I think, yeah, the sky's the limit moving forward. If Matthew Stafford continues to look like this good and this accurate, Puka Nacua is going to continue to dominate. And so, fantasy MVP for the year, he won a lot of teams, a lot of leagues this year, and also won people a lot of money if they drafted him in best ball. And so, yeah, big fan of him and obvious MVP candidate.
Yeah, and actually, I was down on Puka on the year, so I didn't put him as I was wrong, but I was wrong. So, yeah, I was definitely down. All right, my fantasy MVP, Christian McCaffrey. Not much to talk about here. We talked about him earlier. He led all fantasy football in points. It was 8th among running backs and rushing yards, 22nd among all receivers and receiving yards as a running back. And he had the most fantasy football points out of every other player in fantasy football, outscoring Josh Allen, who was second by over 23 points. He wins the fantasy MVP award for me for 2025 season. PPR nightmare. Eventually, he's going to have to pass the torch, but it wasn't this year. So
it was not this year, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah. All right, my award for the waiver wire hero, Rico Dowdle.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Started the season as the RB2 in Carolina behind Chuba Hubbard. When Hubbard got hurt, Dowdle stole the starting job and never looked back. Usually a waiver wire ad is only as good, for like a week or two. But Dowdle had an RB2 destination for the rest of the year. If you picked him up, good on you, especially those first 2 games he started. He had over 400 yards, absolutely dominated. For me, he wins the waiver wire hero award for 25 season.
Yeah, that's a great pick. For me, this is somebody who really emerged onto the scene the later parts of the season, but that's wide receiver Michael Wilson for the Arizona Cardinals. Somebody who started the year pretty irrelevant. And then you mentioned Jacoby Brissett coming onto the scene. And from week 11 onward, finished as like a top 10 wide receiver. And as a season, finished as a wide receiver 16. So somebody who was really irrelevant at the start of the year came onto the scene and just became a absolute stud. You got to start him type of a player. So Michael Wilson is a waiver wire hero for me and for, I'm sure, a lot of other fantasy teams out there.
There you go. Go ahead and do your biggest bust award.
Oh, my biggest bust. We've talked about him earlier. Brian Thomas Jr. Somebody who was drafted really, really early in the drafts last year, somebody who is going to be expected to compete for that wide receiver 1. I even heard the fantasy footballers talking about him as, oh, this guy's going to be the wide receiver 1 of the year. Ended up not being the case at all. He is somebody who just disappointed all around and was probably the biggest bust for a lot of people this year. And so I think he's the most deserving for the biggest bust award. I would hand him the trophy, but he would also probably drop.
Yeah, I had him as the biggest bust as well. It's just, I'm not going to kick a dead horse. The dude sucked. He was a big disappointment. And if you drafted him, I apologize. I drafted him several times and it sucked. So,
yeah.
All right. Going on to our comeback player of the year award, I have Javonte Williams.
I also have Javonte Williams.
There you go. Not only did he overcome adversity from his injury and inconsistent playing time in previous seasons, but he also had, the load thrown into his shoulders when the Cowboys didn't draft a running back early in the draft, which a lot of people expected. This season was his best performance by far in terms of statistics, and he made, crucial contributions to the Cowboys' success on offense, which was one of the best offenses in the NFL this season. He went from being irrelevant and a bust into the 11th ranked running back in 2025. That's why he's my comeback player of the year award winner for 2025. He deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. And I even think going back to like training camp when everybody was hyping up Jaden Blue as this rookie running back that's going to come in and demand all these shares in the run game. he really put everybody on silence mode after week 1. And it was just like, hey, no, this is my position. This is my running back room right here, and cemented himself. But yeah, overcoming all those injuries, moving to a new team, new location, new division. I think he just really, I'm impressed by what he did and all the mental hurdles he had to overcome to do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. This last one. Nope, we have 2 more. Sorry. The I will never draft him again award. You want to do yours?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if ours aren't the same. But for me, I picked wide receiver Jerry Jeudy for the Cleveland Browns. So here's the deal. I was very high on Jerry Jeudy going into this year. I was like, hey, we saw what he did against the Broncos last year. He put up huge numbers. Him and Jameis Winston had good chemistry. And I think if Joe Flacco can catch some of that and be that gunslinger that he is, Jerry Jeudy is going to be the guy. And I was proven wrong. He was just a guy that dropped a lot of passes. He's not somebody that would be relied upon, I think, again, moving into next year. And if the coaching staff does change, I do think that a lot of coaches, probably whoever they hire, won't really rely on Jerry Jeudy moving into next year. They'll be more focused on the rookies that are this year. So the Harold Fannons, the Quinshon Judkins, even Dylan Sampson to a certain extent. And Jerry Jeudy will just be an afterthought. So I would never draft him again. I'm staying away from him at all costs at this point. Jerry Jeudy is what a letdown.
He's dead to me. No, not really. Just in fantasy football. I did not have Jerry Jeudy. I was going to go Jerry Jeudy, but I thought David's going to go Jerry Jeudy. I picked A.J. Brown.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay. I understand.
Top 10 wide receiver this year.
I understand A.J. Brown ended up being the wide receiver 9 for fantasy football when it's all said and done. Okay. I understand that. But honestly, he was definitely not worth all the headaches that he gave us owners this year. Not at all. There were several games at the beginning of the season where he failed to score even 10 points. He was portraying this attitude that he didn't want to be in Philadelphia. If he wasn't getting the ball, he wasn't going to try. At one point, he told fantasy managers not even to start him because he wasn't getting the ball. And that was just a few weeks ago. He's the prototype modern day diva wide receiver, and it seems like he can crash out at any moment. I get that he's played well down the stretch towards the championships. Nonetheless, I don't care. I'll let someone else draft that headache. I'm done. A.J. Brown for me is definitely I will never draft him again award for 2025. So
yeah, I don't disagree necessarily. I get
it top 10. I get it, but I'm not worth the headache.
To swallow that because he is a top 10 receiver, but
nope. He's too busy reading on the sidelines than to actually care about the game. He'd be much better if he actually cared. So.
That's fair.
All right. I was wrong award. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I was wrong about Justin Fields. I thought Justin Fields was going to be a top 5 quarterback this season, guys. I thought, he's the dual threat. I thought his wheels, his running game alone, with a true wide receiver 1 that he had a connection with in college with Garrett Wilson. He had Breece Hall. He had Allen in the, as a running back 2. I thought, Mason Taylor was going to have a great rookie year, and, the Jets offense were going to go humming, and I was wrong. Never again. I was banking on the dual threat ability to score a lot of points this year. I understand that he was with the Jets and they mismanaged their entire team, almost as bad as the Browns. Oh well, I don't care. He burned me, and I'll let someone else draft him as well. If he even, I don't even know if he'll be on a team next year, man. Obviously, logic says he will. He's still an athlete. He still has an arm, allegedly, and he runs the ball. But, man, what a mess. What a nightmare this season for Justin Fields. I was wrong about him.
Yeah, you were. So, for me,
I know.
I was wrong award for me is somebody that I was really high on going into this year. Rookie wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Matthew Golden. I was pretty ecstatic about him going there. I was pretty excited about it, and you were right. I doubted you. I was like, no, he's going to take over and be the wide receiver 1, and no, that is not the case at all. In fact, he's kind of just not looked relevant at all in that offense. Romeo Doubs has really emerged as one of the
Christian Watson.
Christian Watson looks like he's coming back. And even Jaden Reed still looks like he's going to have a significant role in that offense. And so was this a wasted pick by the Green Bay Packers? Honestly, it might have been. And that's kind of weird.
That at the draft.
First round pick just wasted like that. And so it sucks to hear. It sucks to see because I was really excited about him going into this year. But yeah, I was wrong about Matthew Golden, and I hope none of you were as well. But yeah, I definitely was wrong.
Yeah. Way to own up, buddy. Yeah, that's one good thing about us is, hey, we talk a lot of guys. We make picks, but we stay accountable, and I like that about us. So
yeah.
All right. This is the last segment. Before we just talk about the summer and what we got going on in the future, I'm going to do this. This is my Commissioner's Couch 2025 State of the League address. This is kind of corny, but I just want to talk about just what this season meant for us. I'm just very, very grateful for our first rookie season done in this podcast, man. Crazy.
It's crazy.
When I first hit record on episode 1 of this podcast, I honestly didn't know that, what the show was going to grow into and become. I was so nervous, man. I think it took me like 10 minutes to actually press, go live before I actually did it. It's really funny. This podcast was just an idea or a goal that I've been talking about for 5 years now. Honestly, how many times did it come up in conversation between you and I just to start it for years?
At least once a week for the last 2 years, I feel
crazy.
Like.
We never took action. It was just words. I just knew that I love fantasy football. I love talking about it, and I wanted to build something that I felt like a home for people who love the game the way that you and I do. Yeah. We were given this wonderful opportunity and a little fire under our asses to start our own show, and decided to grab the bull by the horns. Shout out to the Inside Edge Network. They gave us opportunity, and our first show, we went live the next day, which is insane.
Yeah.
Talk about, YOLO, go for it. The season has become so much more than I could have ever expected. Every week sitting down to break down injuries, pick our hunks and skunks, dive into fantasy fireworks, build our long shot and legacy lineups. It wasn't just content. It was, rhythm. It was a ritual. It was a part of my week that grounded me, challenged me, and honestly made me a better podcast host and a better fantasy football manager. Somewhere along the way, this show grew, not just in listeners, which average, nearly 300 live viewers in several thousand views per each episode, who we are just truly grateful for. Even, the day before New Year's Eve, we have 171 of you watching live right now. Like, what? You guys are nuts. You guys are crazy. I don't know. Hosting this first season taught me a lot. It taught me discipline, because, showing up every week actually matters. Taught me creativity, finding new angles, segments, new ways to talk about the same sport every single week. It's truly an art. It's hard to do, guys.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. It taught me accountability, because it's the only thing to, only thing to name players in a segment. I'm sorry, one thing to name players in a segment, but it's another thing to evaluate your picks and admit when you're wrong each week, which we did. And it taught me that people really do connect with authenticity. I can't talk.
Authenticity.
With being authentic. David, it's 10:13 and I have a newborn. Sorry.
You're good.
When I was honest, when I was passionate, when I was fired up, everyone was right there with me. Now that the championships are over and the dust is settled, and we've had a chance to reflect on what this season meant, and the truth is, it meant everything. We are so grateful. This season was the foundation. The Commissioner's Couch podcast rookie year. The proof of concept, the proof of an idea that we've been talking about for several years now. The moment where this show stopped being an idea and became something real. And the best part is, we're just getting started, guys. Year 2 is going to be bigger. Smarter, sharper. We're expanding segments. We're going to add new ones. We're diving deeper into analytics, bringing more personality, more storytelling, more community involvement. We're talking off-season specials, rookie previews, Dynasty breakdowns, draft season mega episodes. We're going to do mock drafts for every single format where listeners can participate in the mock drafts themselves, and we'll be going live with those. Finally, we're going to start a few Commissioner's Couch leagues where our listeners can join and compete against us in fantasy football and try to beat us for glory. It's going to be a lot of fun. If year 1 was about finding our voice, year 2 is about owning it for sure. So for everyone who listened in, supported, shared the show, argued with our picks, celebrated the wins, and survived the skunks, truly, truly thank you. You helped us build this. You guys did. Into the future, the Commissioner's Couch, buckle up, because this next chapter starts now. We are, like I said, we're just getting started. We were thrown into this with very little prep at the beginning of the year, and we just went with it. And now that we have a few months to take off in the off summer, we are going to provide some really, really awesome content for you guys, and we're just really, really excited and really grateful for you all to be here along with us.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners as well. I'm going to come up with some sort of catchy name for all of you. I don't know what it is just yet. Maybe the Couchers or something like that, but
not the Couchers.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Your support and dedication to listening to us just ramble about players every week is really just encouraging for us, because it's not easy to sit here and talk through all the stats every week, talk through the matchups, talk about what certain edge a player has going into this week, and how it can benefit you in your fantasy football matchups. But you guys are the reason why we're doing this, and the reason why we're going to keep going and keep providing more and more content for you. And so, yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it and love all of you. And yeah, we hope that we can provide some more support, encouragement, and excitement for you guys as we continue.
Yeah. We're going to be taking a few months off since the fantasy football season is obviously ended. Champions are crowned, and hopefully you are getting paid here soon. Use LeagueSafe. LeagueSafe is the best way to use transactions for money, by the way.
Yes.
In the meantime, we'll be working hard to provide rookie player profiles for episodes before the draft. We are going to break down so many quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. We're gonna really break down the film, break them down. We're gonna rank them. We're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about them. So just look forward for those. Probably around mid-March is when we start, obviously. But we got a lot of work to do, and we're excited to prepare that for you guys. Like I said, we're gonna do a listener dynasty league. We might do a couple G18 leagues as well. Look for posts about that and how to join those leagues as well. Mock draft episodes, we're going to feature listeners as well to make picks. Those will be a lot of fun. And then we're also going to implement a mailbag where listeners can ask questions. We did something similar with Fix My Fantasy Team, but that came a little bit too much. This way, we'll actually have an email system set up, and you guys can send in, and we can read those live as well. So once again, we are the Commissioner Couch Podcast. We are sponsored by the Inside Edge Network, LVP Productions, and Monster Moments Photography.com, a husband and wife photography team based out of Cleveland who specialize in weddings. Check them out, MOSSOR Moments Photography.com. Today's a sad day, guys. This is the last show of the year. But like I said, we look forward to seeing you guys in a few months with some absolutely amazing shows. Huge thank you to my co-host, David Cahoon. Brother, I love you.
I love you too.
Amazing rookie season for this podcast, man. I'm so grateful for you, man. So excited for the future. I love doing this with you, man. I can't talk. I'm just grateful, buddy. I love you a lot. My name is Ryan Mosser. Follow me at Dynasty CLE. He is David Cahoon. Follow me at David Cahoon 24. We will see you all in a few months. Find us on YouTube, Facebook as well at Commissioner's Couch. We'll make sure to make some announcements when we come back. Thank all of you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful new year. Please be safe. This has been the Commissioner's Couch Podcast signing off after a wonderful 2025 rookie season. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.